Welcome to episode 3 of the New Mexico Kayak Bass Fishing. Hope everybody had a wonderful week. Glad everybody decided to show up tonight. Just a couple of things I need to mention before we bring in some co-hosts and guests. I've had a lot of emails and messages regarding my tournament coming up. One of which is the 360 navigation lights. So these lights and 360 light need to be running because we launch 4 a.m. These lights need to be on at all times until good light is out. Then if you decide to do the night fishing, those lights have to come back on due to insurance. We will have some whistles available at the expo. This will be checked for the first tournament. My suggestion is make sure you get that sucker attached to your life vest as soon as possible. Lights, have to be used regardless of motor. I guess from there, let's bring in Mr. Gene Cooper. Good evening, Gene.
What's up?
How was your week?
Busy.
Busy?
Yeah.
Busy?
Yeah, very busy.
Prepping for that expo?
Yeah, that and future tournaments, and I've been trying to finish up rigging out this Hobie. So I put a mat in it, and I got a bunch of wiring stuff I got to do.
Bunch of wiring stuff, as in like you're trying to add new batteries, or are you swapping up?
No, I'm trying to take away. So I'm going away from the 16 volt on the graph. I'm going to go back to a 12. So that way I can have a 12 that just runs cameras and lights and the graphs as well. Because I don't know, I don't see much of a difference on a short run, less than 10 feet of wire. I don't see a whole lot of difference in the 16 volt versus the 12 volt. So it saves me about 15, 16 pounds of weight.
I don't blame you there. So Expo's coming up this weekend, yeah?
Yep.
I've been kind of working my tail off getting all my stuff ready. We got these giveaways going. Ticket sales doing any good on your side?
I've sold a few, but obviously most of them I'm planning on doing at the expo because people tend to see things and then they want to buy a ticket rather than me trying to post up a picture of it.
Right. With that being mentioned, Chris Flores from Muddy River Catfishing, talked to him the other day. He wound up kicking us a $400 gift certificate, which comes out to a 1 day, 2-person fishing trip that we're selling 5 tickets for $10 as well. And the agreement that I had with Chris is after the last day of the expo, the winner will be drawn. Then I'll just literally hand that envelope to our angler that we're trying to, get all this money for.
Right.
How you doing, Whittleline? Thanks for making it, buddy. The other thing I was going to mention to everybody watching is, and we had discussed this over the last week or so, a lot of our tournament fishing gear that we're trying to replace and all this other stuff, we're going to have used gear, tackle, and whatnot at the show. So if somebody's looking for a good priced reel, a good priced rod, or even a rod and reel combo, we're going to have those available as well. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to be bringing down some stuff. It's just been sitting on the shelf, and a lot of it's still brand new. So, and it's going to be marked like half off, man. So everything from spinning reels to like super heavy duty flipping sticks for Florida.
Right. On top of that, I've got, I rounded up a bunch of soft plastics and whatnot out of my tournament trailer that I'm going to bring down and just put it in like a bargain bin or something, just make it all one price and pull it out and go that way.
Yeah, and I don't know that I'll have my Yak Attack order in for the shop. I was going to bring a lot of that stuff down if I did, but I will have a lot of Catch stuff there. If somebody's needing something from Catch, we'll have it. And then a couple different rail systems to check out. And I'm bringing down some boards, some limited edition boards. And then I have a few things kayak related that are, stuff that I don't use anymore. So.
Okay. So pretty much if somebody was looking for something for kayaks, odds are we'll probably have it there at the booth.
Yep, for sure.
Okay. And you're bringing Yak Attack boxes as well?
If I have the order in, the order's been placed. My understanding has been shipped. So the inventory that I got it for the shop. So hopefully it's there.
Yeah.
And then I'll have my boxes, of course, in my kayak that we'll have on display.
Yeah.
And then I'll have some batteries there. If guys are looking into lithium, I definitely would come by and just check them out and pick them
Yeah.
up and see what it's
Now,
all about.
are you going to have any used batteries for sale from
No,
your swapping and moving around, or these
no.
are brand new batteries?
Yeah, these will be brand new batteries.
Okay. So not to push in competition with you, I've got a couple used batteries that I'm feathering out, so they'll be there and available as well. If I was to show up to the expo and I'm looking for a Yak Attack, would I be able to place an order through you there at the show?
Yeah, you can.
Are we gonna have forms or just kind of write all that down?
I can kind of take care of you there. I mean, but obviously, if you're gonna order through me, you might as well just go directly to Yak Attack. I mean, I prefer you to go through me, but I'm not gonna make someone do it just over the, because I
Right,
want you
right.
to.
Very well. What are your thoughts and opinions on the tournament out in Florida?
Anybody that can crush 100-inch limit on back-to-back days is, well, I mean, I hate giving other guys credit. He must be a hell of a fisherman.
Right?
I mean, that's kind of like, I guess, I don't know. In your opinion, a 100-inch limit, is that like I wouldn't say 20-pound bag mark. That's more like a 30-pound bag mark, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of like the pinnacle. I think those guys even get a reward for crushing a 100-inch limit.
Yeah, because that's what on average, 6 to 8 pounds per fish.
I think so. Yeah. Because you're looking at what? Well, that's a 20-inch limit, 20-inch, 5 times. So
Yeah.
probably closer to the 5, I guess. So 25 pounds.
Because the 814 hang on the wall right there, that one was 23 3/4 inches long.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of gave that, because you got some fish that are longer than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a hell of a bag, and not burn through it day one to save something for day two.
Yeah. Yeah. What got me too, man, is I'm sure if we looked at the top 20 or 30, probably most of those guys were all fishing the same lakes. But I didn't realize at the time when I looked at the map, when I was thinking about going down, there was so many different lakes and boat ramps that it was one deterring factor. I was like, I'll never figure out where to fish in, 2 days of pre-fishing.
Mm-hmm. Because they had like 7 lakes that they could choose from, correct?
Honestly, I don't know the number, but I know when I looked, it looked like it was at least that many.
Yeah. And I really can't wait till we get John in here and kind of pick his brain apart and figure out why he decided the lake that he did.
Yeah.
I guess from here we'll just bring in Sean and we'll pick his brain apart.
Okay.
Welcome, Sean.
Hey guys.
Don't look too happy.
Well, I'm at
Thanks
work
for
right
joining-
now, so we'll see.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us tonight. We were just talking. How many lakes were available to you guys out there in Florida for that event?
That one was a total of 13 lakes that were available. So it was a big area, just almost impossible if you don't know the area. So it's for somebody out of state. That was just pick one and fish it.
So going into this trip, what difficulties did you have mentally, physically, emotionally did you have going into this event as in travel and with 13 lakes? Like, what did you do mentally to keep yourself going?
Well, I guess I'm getting older, so there's not much time left to hit these big events. So yeah, that was the main thing, because I was flip-flopping back and forth if I was even going to go or not. There's, like I said, 13 lakes. I don't know the area. It's a lot like East Texas or East Texas kind of thing, like a lot of vegetation, hydrilla, lily pads, the kiss me grass, reeds and everything. So and it's totally different than New Mexico rocks and submerged trees kind of thing. So I still am figuring all that out. But yeah, it was just doing the e-mapping, just looking on Google Maps, seeing where would look like a good area. And my thoughts were like picking like a smaller lake where there wouldn't be so much boat traffic, and maybe some of the other guys wouldn't like to go to those smaller lakes. And I was figuring there's going to be like big F1 Florida bass in every single one of those lakes, and that's where I kind of should have talked to the locals and mistook that.
So when you were doing your digital media lake scouting, was there like 3 or 4 lakes that looked good to you and you're like, I need to pre-fish those? Or did you like
They all
pick a
kind of look the
few out and
same.
then
Yeah, they
were
all
you
kind of
able,
looked. What's that?
I was going to say, were you able to do any research on the lakes that you thought looked good? As in when you were looking through Google Maps, like, because I want to say you fished Lake Toho.
East Toho, the smaller one.
So
The main lake is I did research on that. I found one of the YouTube fishing guides out there and just kind of follow his channel, watch what he was doing. But and I figured that was going to translate over to East Toho, which is a smaller lake just east side of there, and it didn't really.
Did you have any and I'm not real familiar, but was there any previous tournaments that you were able to look up, specifically kayak tournaments, as far as maybe seeing where they were worn out in the past?
Not that I found, because Bassmasters and Hobie both did um, the Harris chain for the last couple of years, so it wasn't north of there, so it wasn't Kissimmee, so it's a little bit different. And every kayaker I talked to when I got off the water or when I was getting on said every single lake fish different. Because they did like little lake hopping also. They figure out one technique and throw one lure at one lake, and then go check out another one that they figured would be a good lake, or like similar kind of things and the exact similar conditions. They throw the exact same thing and wouldn't get hit on that, so they have to figure out a different technique to catch those fish. So it was a different technique for each lake.
yeah,
How many
well,
lakes did you fish total and pre-fishing?
I fished 3 lakes total. I went to the south side of Kissimmee Lake the first day. Second day, I fished Lake Gentry, and then I went to East Oho for the third day because that's where my Airbnb cabin was, and it was just a couple 100 yards from my Airbnb. So I didn't really figure stuff out on the first 2, so figured just fish the one closer and figure something out.
yeah.
Okay.
Got a question in our
Mhm.
chat here from Wetline Fishing. What part of Florida were you in?
Yeah, this is a Kissimmee chain, which is just south of Orlando. It's like Orlando's pretty much Kissimmee St. Cloud is where Disney World is. So it's everything south of there to the Kissimmee Lake.
So basically, when you get off the lake, get back on the road, it's traffic anywhere you go.
Oh, it's all pretty much city everywhere you go. That was the biggest part was when I went to South Kissimmee, it took me almost an hour, but it was only about 35 miles away, 37 miles away. So it just took forever just because the street lights were so long. There's traffic the entire time and construction everywhere.
Yeah. So was East Lake Toho, was that the first lake that you pre-fished, or did you start somewhere else?
No, I figured since I was staying there, I could hold that off till like if I didn't figure anything out. So I went to the south side of Kissimmee Lake the first day. Got out there a little bit late. Um, got out there probably about like 2:30, 3 o'clock. Uh, tried to figure out like a little technique, like figure something out there. Fished for about half an hour, fishing lily pads, flipping lily pads, kind of skirting the outside of them with a swim jig. Nothing was. I was getting little hits, but later, like towards the third day, I figured out those real strong hits but no bites were just the alligator gar. So they'd kind of mess with me. They'd hit that lure really hard but wouldn't get them.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
after that, after I hit that lily pad area, uh, went to the what was that, the east side of where I launched from, and so I kind of snuck up, and that didn't really sneak up, but since I was driving the past 3 days, my eyes weren't so good, and saw my first alligator on the water out there.
Yeah. Now you had mentioned you had pre-fished 3 different lakes. Do you think knowing what you know now after fishing
Mhm.
this tournament, would you have been money ahead to stay on Toho and get better information on Toho rather than pond jumping?
Hold on just one second. Okay, so yeah, so what was the question again? Sorry.
Oh, I was asking from the information that you know now
Mhm.
and what you figured out, do you think that you would have been further ahead if you would have just dedicated all 3 or 4 days that you pre-fished to Lake Toho rather than pond jumping?
Not East Toho. That's why I found out because I didn't really want to ask you, like, do follow the rules kind of thing. Don't ask any information. I want to try to figure it out myself and get used to kind of figuring it out myself. But I took one of those airboat rides right before I left the last day I was there, and he said East Toho. He was amazed that I even caught a limit out there because that definitely wasn't the lake to win a tournament on. He gave me couple different lakes that I should have been on instead. But yeah, I think it would have been beneficial to find a lake, do my e-scouting, find a lake, and kind of make a plan there. But maybe talk to some of the locals there and figure out, get some opinions on one of the lakes that would probably win it, and then go from there, hit one of those lakes, and stay pre-fishing that one lake for the 30 days of pre-fishing.
Yeah,
Um,
try to get more of that lake coverage instead of being like, okay, well, I tried this section at this lake, I'm gonna go try another lake, because that's literally a day lost. And like you were saying, this lake had one certain technique that they were going after, and
mhm.
the other lake had a different technique. Now you have to like spend more time on both lakes to like narrow it down. So I was kind of just thinking like if you would have just stayed to East Lake Toho and spent those extra days there, that you could have honed down what you needed to do a little better.
I think I would have caught a limit both days if I would have stayed on that lake all 3 days, but I don't think I would have caught anything big. The biggest fish I caught was on one of the or I hooked him, but he spit the hook about 2 feet away from the boat. That was probably about a 17-inch, and that was the biggest one I caught out of that lake.
So you don't personally think that Toho had the fish to win it?
No, oh no, no. The tour guide, the alligator airboat guide gave me 3 lakes that the Bassmaster boat series won it on the last couple of years because he did tournament fishing, so he had kind of that inside information. From what I heard, from what he said, he told all the guys in kayaks the first day of the practice to just leave that lake and don't even think about fishing that lake. So I didn't get that information.
Yeah, just a day too late.
Yeah,
Did you fished on tournament day 1 and 2? You fished the same lake, right?
yeah, just because like I said, I should have stuck to one area because it was once I figured out that technique on that one area, then I knew I went back to the Airbnb and um, figured out where was similar so I could hit those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
you obviously figured something out though, because I mean, you went from a no limit on day 1 to you got a limit on day 2, right?
yeah, well, I caught one fish on day one, and I had my second fish that I caught it and put it on. And right when I put it on the board, I saw the time change right when I picked up my phone from 3:30 to 3:31. So, and you can see that in one of the videos. Um, but yeah, like I said, lost 2 days pre-fishing because I didn't know the areas, didn't know the techniques, that kind of thing. Uh, but yeah, I definitely would have caught that limit first day if I would have just stuck to that lake, figured out the areas,
Mm-hmm.
and because I figured out that technique the day of the first day of the tournament.
Yeah. Well, you keep saying technique. So I'm assuming being in Florida, you were in pretty clear water, were you not?
It was the tannic water. It was like when the leaves and vegetation kind of
Like
the
tea.
grade kind of thing. It's like that, yeah, like tea. So it was
Okay.
kind of like that. It was clear, but it was that tea color water.
Yeah.
So that changes. That also changes the lure colors.
Correct. Now, with that being said, what kind of water temperatures were you dealing with?
First day, I was running into, what was it, 61, and pretty much all over the lake. It started warming up because right before this we had that cold front. Daytona Beach got snow. Florida had snow for the first time in about 10 years or something like that. So it was that whole huge cold front. It started warming up towards the tournament day. So tournament day, it was about high 70s out air temp, and the water temperature was 61. Second day, it was 85 air temp, and the water temperature was ranging from about 61 to 68, depending on where you were and how shallow you were fishing.
Yeah. And about how shallow were you fishing? Like what was your target depth?
I found some beds. They're already coming up on laying on beds. Some of them were trying to spawn, so they weren't locked on there, but some of them were locked onto those beds. So those were maybe 1.5 feet deep, and then right around the weed lines, the reeds, it was maybe 5 foot.
So were you able to capture any fish just bed fishing for them, or was it just kind of blind casting and hoping for the best?
Now, the first, like you see in some of the videos, that I would be able to get like 2 foot away from those fish. So the ones that were locked on the beds were locked on, and I was able to throw everything at them till something bit. Um, I was able to find just a couple were on beds, so there weren't that many that I could catch off of bed fishing. Um, but yeah, they were pretty easy once I figured out what they wanted.
So what did they want? What did you wind up having to do to get these fish to convince to bite?
So that first one, I had a paddle tail tied on, and tried dragging that through. Didn't have any interest in that paddle tail, and so I figured just scrap that. Uh, then I went and threw my Texas rig crawl because that was already rigged up, and drug that that crawl right on the middle of the bed, and that fish, I'd watch it right at the claws, just carefully pick it up and place it out of the bed. She did that 3 times, so I figured she's not going to get anywhere near that hook. So I switched to, I had a 6th Sense line through jig head that just has that screw lock that you just screw onto the front, line it through the nose, comes out the back, and you tie a treble hook on there and hook it to the back on that treble hook. So I was able, the first day, I caught that one. And I think I had another little paddle tail, different color paddle tail on there, just drug it through there, and it went and smacked that 6th Sense rig right away, and it worked perfect. It worked just how I hoped it would. With that treble hook, once that fish got that treble hook in its mouth, the whole lure just slides right up the line. So now you're not fighting. That fish doesn't have that weight to throw around to spit that hook. All it has is a treble hook in its mouth with no weight. So there's no way that's coming off.
That's what you're doing in this clip, right?
That's the first day. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's just
like
dragging it straight through that
right
bed.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the 6th Sense or is that a Crush City?
I believe that one's a Crush City. That's the Sexy Shad color Crush City, the mayor.
Okay, I want to play this clip here, Sean. If you can kind of commentate on what you're doing and kind of what you're thinking here.
Okay, so yeah, it's like I said, I just kept throwing through that bed and just dragging it, stopping right in the middle of the bed. And that first paddle tail, she just looked at it, didn't do anything. The crawfish, she'd pick it up, move it right off the bed. I did that 3 times before I put this on there, and just kind of drug it through, stopped it right in the middle, and yeah, she right there, she hit that, just hit the treble hook right when she hit the treble hook on the back. I set that hook, and it was that, yeah, there's no spit in that, and you can see it's right up the line right there. So there's no weight that she could use to her advantage to spit that out.
Yeah.
How long did you work that fish total, Sean?
That one, I'd say about 10 minutes.
Were you just not finding fish day one that were on beds, or was you just
No,
you couldn't get them?
in this area, because what I found out on practice day, I didn't find this area on practice day, but I was going through those little boat channels that were cut out right in the middle of the weeds. Because the first day I was fishing open, or yeah, the third day of practice on East Toho, I was fishing open water and trying to go deep, and figured out that I was finding bait balls, and there were some bass underneath there. So I was jigging for bass in open water in the deepest part of Lake Toho, which was set 16 feet. But so I just accidentally, I started going through those boat lanes and flipping a like a mega bass, a big heavy paddle tail, and catching them on the weed lines there. But so I did the same technique second day and found that little cove in there with the boat docks at that house, and started seeing fish on beds and just fish swimming around the hydrilla in there. So I figured, and once I saw the bed fish, I figured just keep throwing that till eat something and figure out what they want.
So to confirm, there was a weed patch between like 4 or 5 foot of water, then there was an open spot like a lane, then another set of vegetation, and you were fishing between those sets of vegetation.
Yes, it like towards the open lake area, and the bank. There's a little like a boat lane that's about, I say it's about 10 feet in from the open lake, and it's just wide enough that a little bit wider than the kayak. Sometimes it was just the width of the kayak, about 3-4 foot wide. So I figured that looked like a good area to just flip both sides and just swim a paddle tail on both sides of those reeds or the weeds and get something to pull out.
We got any footage from day 2, Chris?
Oh yeah.
I do have a clip from the fish that he wasn't able to submit from day 1.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see I'll throw in those lily pads right over there.
Now, is this the boat lane that you're talking about, or are you on the outside?
Yeah. No, this is the boat lane I was talking about, but this is like more the open area of the boat lane. There's all lily pads on both sides, the reeds on both sides. You just got a mixture of everything on those boat lanes. So it's a lot of cover, like tons of cover in there.
And you're just swimming a paddle tail here?
Yeah, that's that mega bass. Let's see.
Oh, you're still throwing the line through?
No, that shouldn't be the line through one. Yeah, you can see me hurrying there because I've gotten tons of times where even Lake Fork in November, I missed my last fish because my time ran out right when I was putting them on the board.
So you always keep your phone in your pocket like that?
No, sometimes it's just dangling, but since I have it on that tether, sometimes it gets caught up on. You can see me right there. That I had to look back at my phone, make sure it was 3:31. I was like, no, there's no free. Yeah, and the disappointment right there. But
so
yeah,
what did that one measure to?
That was like a 12.5, but yeah, it was all I was catching on there was about 12 to 14. And that one I caught the third day of practice was about a 16, 17 that spit the hook. So yeah. I tried that a little bit going from that spot where I caught that first fish into the open water on first day, and I couldn't find those same bait balls. The weather kind of changed. It got colder. I couldn't find the big bait balls. I couldn't find any bass underneath any of the bait balls in the open water. So I just figured go back to these boat lanes and just kind of figure something out there.
Yeah, and just a tip on the phone thing there. So I noticed you do have a kayak cushion. I have mine tethered as well, but I shove it between the seat and that cushion. So if I need it, I just pull it out.
Yeah, that's probably good. That's a real good idea. Yeah, and tether it to the seat.
I don't ever put it in my pocket because I've been in that same situation. I was like, nope, that's not happening again. I just throw it, in between the cushion and the seat itself. And if you need it,
yeah, because keeping it right on my belt right there and in my pocket. Sometimes when I stand up, that it's a rubber leash on there, but it gets caught on the handle of that Hobie and yeah, I won't make it all standing up all the way.
Yeah. So let's move on to Sunday.
Mhm.
This is your first fish on Sunday, and it looks like you're drop shotting now.
Yeah, he got a
Yeah.
fairy wand in his hand.
Yeah. So, so yeah, I was going to do that in that same spot that I caught that first fish day one, but I was launching the same boat ramp as Joe McElroy, so I figured he's going to be my good luck charm because he usually does real good. But so I took my time. Second day, I launched a little bit late. I got out there first, or you could launch at 7 o'clock. I got out about 7:05, so not too late, but I kind of took my time because I knew I was going to hit that spot. Right when I got to that little boat lane into uh, that boat dock for that house, yeah, Joe was sitting right there, right in that boat lane, taking up the entire lane. So I figured, you know what, I'll let him have that. I'll be fishing kind of the same fish I was doing yesterday that weren't biting some of the lures I was throwing. So I figured there's the other spot I looked on Google Maps the night before, and there's a whole another set all the way across the lake. So I just figured take that time and go all the way to that other spot that I found online.
Yeah. I
And
see
this is
here
where,
that you're throwing a mooch minnow. So
yep,
were you
that's
flip
it.
flopping between the mega bass, the mayor, and the mooch, or did one
No,
have better success over the other?
yeah, second day, I didn't do that mega bass because it was. I figured that I found out that they were hitting that smaller stuff a little easier. Because that big paddle tail, that was a heavy paddle tail. I'll use that here in New Mexico, and it would have probably worked in it probably worked in the bigger lakes, the lakes that airboat guide told me to go to. But in this lake, there were smaller fish. They weren't hitting anything really big that often. So I was going between the mooch minnow and the sexy shad and the mayor and the sexy shad, and those were my two main baits.
Yeah. What time was this? Was your first fish caught?
I was a little bit later since it was a ways away. That house that I was fishing at before is maybe I'd say half a mile away from the boat ramp. So when I finally got over there, it's probably like right around 9 o'clock, 9:30 when I finally got over because I kept stopping in the open water and trying to find those bait balls on the way. But this area in the videos was 4 miles away from the boat ramp.
Yeah, and this is the same area you caught that first fish, correct?
Yeah, it's about 5 or 6 houses, and they had all the grass and lily pads and the same environment as that house the first day. They had the boat lanes connecting their open areas, their own big open areas. So I'd cruise through those boat lanes as well from house to house.
How long did it take you to get a limit?
I was like right up to the end.
Okay.
I caught a couple. I got a couple. I tried to find a video of it. I caught probably like a 16-inch that would have been.
Now, are you seeing this fish right now?
This one, yeah, this is another bedfish,
Yeah,
and
because
I did the same
it looks
thing.
like you were throwing a wacky worm.
No, what I threw on here because I did the same thing. I did that mooch minnow. It wasn't in the drop shot. What I did was that 6 cents jig head. I took off that paddle tail on there and I bit off. I had one of the 6 cents bags of like the 9-inch worms, and I bit off about I'd say about 3 inches off the end of that one, like the little fat tail of the worm of that 9-inch, and I screwed it on that 6 cents jig head that lined through, and that's what he attacked that one. But yeah, I just kept dragging over that bed, and that one took me probably about 7 minutes to figure out what he wanted to eat.
No, this one was locked onto that bed, so you're 100% sure it was
So
female.
you see, yeah, you can see that jig head there if you back it up a little bit.
Yeah, the other thing I did notice, and I was going to ask you on this after watching these yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
is let me see if I can back it up to a certain point here. Right here, let me see if I can get rid of this damn thing. I noticed that you were running red treble hooks.
Yeah,
Did that make a difference?
I have no idea because that's what I bought. I figured like the blood kind of color, but that's why I bought with those jig heads. So that's why I was planning on running. I bought those jig heads like probably about a month ago, month and a half ago, and I can't even remember. I think I might have got them at Sportsman's. I can't remember, but I searched all through Florida for those things, and nobody had them. I finally picked up a bunch of them, different sizes, and everything over at Shields on the way back in Dallas.
Okay, so it was just a happy mistake that it worked.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of figuring because it's taking away the weight when they shake their head is a huge thing with just having that one treble hook in there. They're not going to shake that.
Yeah.
So I figure something bit on that. There's no way I'm losing it.
And it looks like you're kind of in about the same area that you started in. It just you're kind of like really fishing it thoroughly.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of different like the same environment. So it's just fish those grass lines right there. I was going around. This one was just a little grass island, just a big circle, and that's where I
What?
figured out. What's that?
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh yeah, that's why I figured out because the first couple hits I got on this grass island were like those hard hits, but it wouldn't take it. That's why I figured out that those were gar that were hitting that thing because the bass would take it. I'd see bass kind of follow it, but I saw that gar when he pounded it, he did follow it to the boat, and I was like, okay, that hard hit is a gar, and the bass would still hit hard, but they wouldn't hit like the gar did. It wouldn't be like a sharp kind of hit.
What? So obviously, you had a rough day one. Day
Hmm.
two, you put a limit together, and for me, watching an angler, that tells me that angler, a lot of guys would have just quit, went home, whatever.
Oh yeah.
So on day two, what was your goal as far as day two goal? Because you kind of knew, all right, I can't 200 inches in a day, so you knew
Yeah.
you're probably not gonna, you're not gonna win anything. But what was your goal day two when you went out that morning?
Well, day one helped a lot because it's in the national stuff. Since it's not like New Mexico, man, it's been discouraging on some of this national stuff because I've gotten zeros on every national one. I've caught some pre-fish ones, but on tournament days I've done zeros because it's just a different technique, different style of fishing and everything. So on this one, when I caught two fish for tournament day and was able to submit one, that was is a little discouraging that I didn't get more, but it wasn't as I didn't get a zero, so that was a little bit uplifting. So day two, I knew I couldn't win it. There's no chance of winning it. Didn't even I don't even think I checked the leaderboard, but I knew people were catching like those 20 inches and everything, and they've been there and know where those fish are. So it wasn't too discouraging because I did catch something the first day. So second day, I just went out and tried to figure it out, and all I wanted was a limit. I didn't care how small it was, and because I knew if I just figured out what they ate, there's a chance I might catch some of those big ones. Chance I might
Mhm.
get big bass. So there's still some money on the table, but it wasn't going to be in the money, in big
Yeah.
money.
So you think it was a mental thing that you kind of broke through to get the fish on the table? Like, you know what, let you like you just keep putting all this pressure on yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go out there day one, and I know the saying, you can't win it on day one, but you sure in the hell can lose it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that being said, if you go out there in the mindset of, hey, you know what, let's just go get 5 fish, put them in the boat, then go get these big mamas. Do you
Yeah.
think that's going to help you later in the season?
Um. Well, just figuring it out because it wasn't. I didn't really put pressure on myself that day two. And day one, I wasn't really hopeful that I'd get a huge or like a big bag or anything just from the pre-fishing. But yeah, just learning it and figuring it just figuring it out. It was a huge thing. That was a huge breakthrough. Figuring out that I should have just stuck with one lake and figured out like the topography, like the area, what environments were out there, and just figuring out where the depths and how to get through that lake. Because there were
Yeah.
some places I went to one little neighborhood area trying to get to their docks the first day tournament, and I wasted about an hour because I spent all that time getting there, and found out that it was like marshlands. And I even used a push pole, couldn't get through any of that. It was just a couple inches, but the vegetation on there was so thick I couldn't get through.
Yeah. Now from what you learned, going to this national event and what you've taught yourself in
Mhm.
pre-fishing, can you bring that back to New Mexico and help break down our lakes better?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's learning more like different technique, like exactly how to do the drop shot, and exactly how to do like improvise. Because those fish I caught on the mare, that paddle tail, I was catching them. What I have on there, I had them on a like a 5/0 swim hook, and I'd put a rattle inside of them, and I put one of those with the screw locks, the Colorado blades, little Colorado blades, right at the tail behind the hook, so the paddle would make some movement, probably make some noise in there. But that Colorado blade just spinning there added tons of flash to that swim tail, and a lot of noise also. So
Okay.
that's just learning to improvise. I could definitely bring that back to New Mexico and like make my own little lures on the fly.
Right. Um, I got a video up here. I think that the fish were weren't very big. I think this one said too small. Did you see a lot of these littler fish out there when you were scouting around?
Oh yeah, well even the over 12s I caught, I thought were too small, but I just want to see if they would like if they would attack what I was throwing at them. Just because if they're eating it, the bigger fish are going to eat it. But everything looked tiny in that lake. I didn't see any really big stuff.
And is this the one that you have on the drop shot and you're just kind of dragging it through?
Yeah, I was just going along I'm pretty sure I was just going along the reed line or something in that one, and just dragging it through, trying to pull them out of that vegetation, out of that cover.
Did your leader length have an effect on if those fish were going to bite it or not? Like if you were within like a 6,
Mm,
8, 10-inch leader line between the weight and that drop shot hook?
with those bed ones, I try to keep it like like closer to the ground, like a maybe like a 4. But on those ones by the weed line, since it's about 5 foot deep over there, I did have at least a foot of lead line on there from the weight. So I try to keep like all my swim baits and everything right in the middle. Um, so right about like a 2.5 foot kind of thing, or 1 to 2.5 foot.
Okay, so you're on average you're fishing 2 to 3 foot depth anyway.
Yeah.
So, you think you might go back to Florida, Sean?
Oh yeah, yeah. They have well, they sign contracts with the Chamber of Commerce on these things for like 2 or 3 years. So I'm sure they'll have Kiss Me Chain back on
Yeah.
the roster next year. So I'm hoping they do that, but they also have the native Big Bass No Limit in December at Kissimmee. So if that works out where they have the native Big Bass No Limit, and then Bassmasters has their event there, I'll just drive out there for that December native tournament and just leave my car and kayak down there at the East Toho RV park I stayed at, because they have a like lock storage over there, and just leave it
Yeah.
there. Have an Uber back to the airport, fly back home, leave it out there for a month, fly back, and do the Bassmaster thing.
How miles wise, how big of a trip was it round trip? Do you have an estimate on it?
It's 1,800 miles one way out there. So that
Okay.
was,
36.
yeah, that was a drive. So I left Sunday night, because I just kind of like taking my time. Yeah, was making a lot of stops, but I left Sunday night, drove as far as I could. I can't even remember how far that was. Probably Amarillo, and made it to second day. I think like the north end of Florida, and made the last trip down on. I think I got there Tuesday night, late Tuesday night. Um, yeah, the ran into a bunch of pothole problems. New Mexico roads are crap, so I hit a bunch of potholes there. Texas was awesome, and then got into Louisiana, hit one of the biggest potholes I've ever hit, and I knew right away, blew my struts. So I drove it out there, and it made some of the worst noises I heard in struts that entire tournament. So I was chancing. I made it back from Florida up to Mobile, Alabama before I said, you know what, I gotta fix these, and stopped at a Firestone for a $2,200 repair.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Breaking Bass Outdoors is in the comments. He goes, "We hope to move down there in that area for next year's tournament, if not sooner." So basically, what I'm getting from that is, hey guys, come sleep on my couch. I got a place for you.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous there, Terry, because you're going to be down there with some big fish, man. A lot different than
Yeah.
Colorado and New Mexico.
And hopefully I got enough information for you. If you ask me, then I'll send you
Oh,
what they told me.
information's reset. That's why we can talk about
Yeah.
anything and everything. A lot of gar in this lake, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's tons of gar in this lake. And yeah, they're a big predator fish. So I don't think that's why there's a whole huge bass, like the big bass are in there. Because there's some pretty big gar. There's a lot of gar, like tons of gar in this area that you're showing now. But yeah, my thinking was, as a smaller lake, there's going to be less boat traffic in there. I figured there's going to be big bass in there because nobody want to go to the smaller lakes. But I was completely wrong on that.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those deals. It sounds like you were a little limited on what you found for information, and going in kind of blind. You just wound up getting to the point, and super happy for you that you pulled in a limit of 5 day too, but you stuck with it and got what you needed to, and you learned something. That's you can't go to the tackle shop and buy experience. You know what I mean?
No, oh no, yeah, you had to be out there because it didn't seem like what I thought Florida would be, but it's a lot like Texas.
Yeah. So if you decide to go down, refish this event, or even just fun fish Florida, how many anglers do you think would make it a little bit more affordable for 1 or 3 people to go fish this, as in caravan or
for the driving and everything, it's since we're kind of limited to space or something, it's kind of maybe 2 people per vehicle or something. But then you got to figure out which lake you're going to, which ramps you're going to, because you're tied up now. But for Airbnb and that East Toho RV park, I paid for the week, I think $550, and it's a cabin, like a little cabin in there, like a little hotel room, 2 queen size beds and a nice bathroom and nice area. Everything's paved out there.
You catch any of those, Sean?
No, I'm glad I didn't catch any of those. Yeah, that first day at that Kissimmee Lake, I got a little, since I was driving all day long, my eyes weren't that good, and I kept getting closer and closer to see. I said, it's kind of the shape of an alligator, but I can't really tell. Then once I got to close enough that I could tell, yeah, that's definitely the shape of an alligator, I thought, we'll do the local screw with the tourist out here. So I want to see if it was a real alligator. So I got a little bit closer, and it dipped in the water. And that's when I said, okay, yeah, I got to get out of here, because I went into the shallows, and there was a whole lily pad and hydrilla, like a dam wall, into the shallows, and there was only like 2 entrances and exits out of there. So I had to figure out how to get out of that place real quick so I didn't get cornered. But yeah, that alligator first day followed me around for about 2 hours. So I didn't get a whole lot of pre-fishing done, because I was using my live scope to make sure there wasn't an alligator behind me.
Yeah, we had that problem at Fork. They'd get up under us. So it looked like you did a little tourism while you were down there as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I hit up the Gator Boat Air rides for the last day, where I got all the valuable information I could have used the first day of pre-fishing. Those guys knew a hell of a lot. Everybody that does the airboat rides, they all tournament fish, so they knew every lake. They knew kind of what to throw. So yeah, they told me next time I come down there, just go talk to them and figure out what's going on. And then right here, this is in Mobile, Alabama, at the USS Alabama battleship. That that was like a 2-hour tour on that battleship alone. It's a self-guided tour, and it took me 2 hours still. And I wasn't really taking my time. I was kind of hurrying because
Yeah. Now
I had to go get my car fixed.
that ship there, that's open to the public and you can walk through it, correct?
Yeah, with the trailer. Yeah, the lady at the ticket booth up front for the parking, she thought I wasn't going to go in because parking is $5 for 2 axles, and I saw that and I was like, had my $5 out. She's like, you might want to turn around. I was like, well, why? I figuring they didn't have any parking spaces, but she said it's going to be $30 for you because you have a trailer. And yeah, she was like wasn't expecting me to just hand over my credit card then and say, yeah, $30. I'm never going to see this in New Mexico. So, and it included admissions $18 to get in there. So $18 plus $5. Yeah, it would have cost me near $30 anyway. So yeah, it all kind of washed out even, and I was able plenty of space out there for parking, and definitely a good tour. Lots to see out there.
Got a comment in here. It says, "What's up, nephew? How many turtles you got to catch to be a Bassmaster now?"
Yeah, I did see some turtles out there. Luckily didn't catch any.
Girl says, "Might want to hand me a wrench." Crazy Cajuns in the chat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I ran into a lot of different tournament anglers. Ran into one of the guys that he does a podcast out of Louisiana, New Orleans, and he showed me pictures that they got snow before he left the house. So I right in between their big snow out there and the snow that caught me in the tail and was following me out there as well. I got lucky with the weather. Coming back when going out there, it was nice and dry, and it's a little chilly because I was hitting the tail end of that cold front. So I had to wear a hoodie for going out there, but coming back, it was all fog because it heated up, and now you still have all that moisture, all fog, all the way past Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah. Did that kick your butt a little bit, that humidity down there?
No, I love the humidity. It kicked my butt coming back here and having to get used to the dry stuff again. Yeah, because didn't drink too much water out there that day. I should have thrown some video out there of me paddling back because the second day of the tournament, I figured fish that area until time ran out, basically, and I'd use my motor to get back and just relax, kick back, turn my motor on, listen to some music on the way back, maybe do a little video or something. And with the vegetation out there, my motor was working overdrive, just catching so many weeds. The reeds out there would just wrap around, so I had to clear my motor probably about every 2 hours or so, or when I hit a big weed patch, and it'd pop a breaker. So I'd go reset the breaker a couple times, and that breaker was smoking hot, like it burned my hand once or twice. So at the end of the tournament, went to go kick in that motor, and it popped the breaker right away. So I reset the breaker, and not even 30 seconds later, popped the breaker again. So that was the first time I had to pull out the pedals in over 2 years. So luckily, I keep those on the boat.
And you were late day too, correct? Getting back to the ramp to check out.
Yeah.
Did you turn yourself in? Because that's usually not something that
Yeah,
So-
well, I was at the boat as I was there I had to wait for a boat to get back so that was kind of blocking me. But I did get back at the ramp at 3:30 or 4:30 because you have an hour. So I was there, but I was blocked from getting to the actual ramp.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was all the entire time out there. But is trying to keep up between a 3.7 and 4.5 mile per hour pace because it was 4 miles, got into that mouth right on time. But yeah, got to the ramp or got to the ramp and the dock, and it took me a while to get like situated again. Once I got out of the boat, just dehydrated, had to take some time and get some blood flowing again.
So there's a question from the good boys. He wants to know: do you think you might have to change your batteries earlier than usual because of that occurrence?
No, I didn't change any batteries. I still have plenty of battery left. I'm thinking it was a connection issue, like corroded wires, a connection issue. So I'm gonna have to address that, figure
Well,
out why they're popping.
you said that the breaker kept flipping, right?
Yeah, I
So
have a 50 amp
yeah,
breaker on there.
so when you run those lithium batteries, what it is that battery is going to run. It's going to heat those wires in that breaker up faster than a lead acid battery. And my
Hmm.
experience, I had the same thing happen to me in a Texas lake a couple years ago, and it kept. And I had one of the best breakers. Sometimes it could be a breaker issue going with some of the cheaper stuff. I had one of the best
Yeah.
breakers you could get. And what I discovered is the guys that had the problems, if they cut that breaker out and they just go straight hardwire,
Hmm.
I've never had a problem since then.
See, and that's
And
what I might do, because looking at all the parts and everything, I can order. The parts aren't that expensive if it does fry something. So I'm probably just gonna cut that breaker out.
Yeah, I wound
yeah,
up
and
taking mine out as well because
I
of
think
that same
when
issue.
you're running that 12-volt system, your chances of really frying something, I mean, you got to screw something up to do that.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, yeah, I guess you could have a bad battery, but it's definitely, I'd cut the breaker out, man, and you should never have a problem with it again.
Hmm.
In fact, I think right now I'm running on my 36-volt setup. I don't even think I'm running a breaker. I probably should be, but I don't mess with them anymore because that's one of the problems is they overheat. And it's not a quality of the breaker. It's just my understanding at the time was it was the battery, because it was a lithium battery, was just putting out more juice than the breaker itself can hold.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good with the heat it was putting out on that breaker. Like I said, that was the hardest I've ever touched that breaker, and
Hmm.
sometimes it was just burnt my hand, and I had to wait a little bit to even put that breaker back because of how hot it got. Um, but yeah, that's just keeping the pet. I'm glad I have a Hobie, because keeping those pedals in the boat, that saved me this time, because there's no way I was getting back at all.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I usually just throw my pedals back in the very back, strap them
Hmm.
down, and hope to God I don't ever have to use them.
Yeah, because that's
The other thing I was going to ask you, Sean, since you fished that tournament, and I've heard coming down the line that the National Bassmaster are now requiring all anglers to use the check-in, check-out feature on
yeah.
tournaments now.
There's a couple things that they implemented that probably always been rules, but they're just starting to get kind of enforce them. So you have to, at check-in, you had to show them you had a valid fishing license for that state, because I don't know if somebody screwed up and didn't have a license or at one of the events, or if it was a Florida issue or a Florida law or something like that. But you have to show your license, that you have a current license. You have to check
And
in and check out.
that's at the
Uh,
actual board check. You have to show them the license.
yeah, at the actual board check, they sent out the email that it was a $200 fine if you showed up to board check without a license. So I didn't see anybody that had I don't know if they were enforcing that 100%. Like if that was just kind of like that soft push out, like that's the warning kind of thing. If you show up
Hmm.
to future events, it's going to be a fine or whatever. But yeah, that was everybody I saw had licenses. So I think that might have been like a kind of not a scare tactic, but make sure everybody has the license, has
Yeah,
all the
and
qualifications.
I think me and Gene talked about it in the past before. Like some of this issue would go away if they would just issue a national license to tournament fishermen, where it would be
Yeah.
like a blanket license. So if it was $300-400, up front, in the long
Hmm.
run, if you're fishing 5 or 6 states, you're going to spend that same amount of money.
Yeah. So yeah, that'd be definitely beneficial. I'd pay for a nationwide license.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd save a little bit of money, because I'm buying like the 7-day license, or some states you have to buy a full year license for non-resident, and
Yeah.
it just wondering if because since it has the 7-day licenses and the full year licenses, it kind of throws you off to remember if you had a license for that year for that state, for the
Yeah.
guys who travel everywhere. So I like
Well, like
Texas.
when we went to Arizona,
Mhm.
it was you either buy the year or you don't get one.
Yeah.
So you were out $80 right there just to fish that 2 days,
Hmm.
that 2-day event.
Well, the Florida license cost me about $60, so it's not a huge thing to buy like the by the year license for that price. But it just depends on state by state what their prices are and how beneficial it is, how much you want to fish that state.
Yeah. Red Oak Outdoors says, "Hey fellas, sorry I'm late. We'll excuse you this one time." Anthony B thinks that would be a great idea for a national license. Maybe we should push towards that.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, do you have a YouTube channel that you have or thinking about starting that we can follow you on? Maybe see the rest of your highlight video that you're gonna put together.
Thinking about starting a YouTube channel this year, but we'll I'll post up on my Instagram. My Instagram name is right underneath my name there. Yeah, the outside man with the underscore on between the words. I'll post up when I have a YouTube channel up and going.
Okay. So from here on out, if somebody wants to follow you through your 2025 season, they just follow you on your Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's probably best, and I'll post the links of the YouTube channel once I get one going.
Okay, and we'll do our best to help shout that out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have anything else. One question I did have was what was your final length for day 2?
Let me check that. I think it's like 67 inches. It wasn't huge. It wasn't big at all.
And that was with your deduction.
Yeah, that was. Let's see here. Gives me chain. That was 79. No, that was total. Yeah, it was like 67 inches.
Yeah, because what is it? 1 inch per minute. You're late.
Yeah.
Where did you end up finishing, Sean?
154th out of 223. So that would have definitely bumped me up way higher if I would have caught a limit first day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's was with the check in, check out. That the other rule on that is you got to get really good at remembering to check in and check out. You can't check in like leaving your Airbnb anymore. You got to check in at the ramp. I did forget about that first day
because they're checking where that your phone is pinging from now.
Yeah. Yeah, and check out same thing. So yeah, if you're exhausted or whatever, I'm sure there's going to be tons of people who are going to forget and not even check in or check out. So it's this year is kind of like I think they're getting geared for it to make that the rule, make that the hard rule.
Yeah. All right, Sean. Well, I've got nothing else that I really was wanting to ask you. You kind of went over kind of what I was looking for is what you did for pre-fish and how you're able to turn around from day 1 to day 2. Congrats on where you finished, man. That was a hell of a journey, coming from New Mexico to go fish in Florida. So congrats on that, buddy.
And do you have any like future dates or anything? Because I like, you want to talk about any of that, or because I'm planning on doing maybe Dale Hollow. I talked to Gene. We might.
Yeah. So
out.
as we progress further into the tournament season, if you travel outside the state and whatnot, we'll bring you back on, get your thoughts and opinions on everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sean, I sent out a couple sheets today for tournaments. There's actually a real simple way to qualify for the state championship in New Mexico as well as Texas. It looks like I can wrap most of that up in most of it's in April fishing, and several of those Texas tournaments are double dippers, but I'll send you the sheet tomorrow. That way you can take a look at it. I think I'm going to pass on Del Hollow because there's one going on in Texas, and I can still hit the other 3 or 4 Bassmasters if I go, I think, to New York and still look to keep that qualification up. And then I guess, Chris, we probably need to talk about your series coming up here in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. So our first tournament's going to kick off February. Day 1 is going to start the 22nd. As of this podcast being live now, Elephant Butte is now considered off waters for all anglers that are going to attend that. A little bit of a mix up and everything for our series as we do a 4 a.m. launch, 10 p.m. off the water day one. Then we relaunch at 4 a.m. day two, then off the water at, I believe it was 3:30, I believe. The biggest thing that I've been getting on my stuff is people arguing with me for the navigation lights, regardless of motor, and that all boils down to an insurance deal. You know, you're launching super early and getting off the water super late, and for me to get this done, that was one of the deals I had to agree to. Was all kayaks had to have navigation and 360 lights. Free fishing will open for my tournament that Thursday leading up to the event, so that would be the 20th.
Yeah, and I'll be there.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
If anybody has questions, they're more than welcome to reach out to me from there. We do have the mandatory captains meeting. There's going to be a safety check, boat check to make sure everybody has their life jackets, navigation lights, whistles.
License.
That I'm going to leave up to make sure that the angler is responsible for that. Because when you sign my waiver, if you're issued a ticket, you're on your own. That's a personal decision that you made. That's not on the tournament director. So if you want to be that guy and jeopardize everything for not going and spending $20-$30 on a license, that's up to you. I'm not your parents. You can grow up and be a man or a woman about it.
Yeah, I checked earlier. I think, Sean, if you sign up, we'll have close to 7 to 10 anglers signed up. So I'm expecting another 10 probably within the week or two.
Oh yeah.
Before the
think there'll be
tournament.
more.
So, you know, you're already pushing close to that $1,000 mark payout with just, 7 or 8 guys signed up. So
Yeah,
you got
Some of
2
these-
days to catch 5 fish and win $1,000.
Some of these anglers need to start pushing to their friends to pull that kayak out of their backyard and put some lights on it and go fish.
Yeah.
5 fish in 2 days, that sounds pretty easy. That'll give you a lot of time to pre-fish and look for those big ones.
Yeah. And I got 2 kayaks for sale. So if you know anybody wants to get in, I got 2 for sale.
Sean, and you're more than welcome to post those on the New Mexico Kayak Bass Fishing Facebook page as well. Throw them in there. I'll approve them. You can throw them on there.
Nice.
Again, that outside man on Instagram for Sean Henry. We're super excited to see where you're heading for 2025. I think that's all I got, guys.
Yep.
I'm already favored. Gene, anything else from you, bub?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. Are we going to do another one? Let's see, we got the expo this weekend. Will we do another podcast before the tournament or probably just
maybe we'll decide next week. I'm not sure that we have anything to really discuss between now and then.
Right.
I think we might ride out that 2 weeks, get some information, some stocking reports, get through the tournament. Let's try to get like maybe the top 3 or some anglers that fish that tournament, and let's get some good input from what they've learned and how they like the format and see how we can grow from there.
I'm down with that. So we'll probably do one after the tournament. And
yeah.
Sounds good. So see, there's something else. Y'all can come on and talk to Chris about all your waypoints and what you were throwing.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, talk about graph setups. I've learned a lot about that. So yeah, I'm gonna switch from Lowrance to Garmin this week.
Bass Pro customer service.
Oh, geez. Yeah, we'll talk about that also. Yeah, yeah. You might want to do a show next week on graphs or something.
Yeah. Everybody in chat saying great show as well. We'll just we'll ban this Cooper guy. I don't know what he's talking about. All right, guys. I think we're gonna go ahead and call that the show. We appreciate everybody stopping in again. Congratulations, Sean, on your Florida tournament. And like I said, we're super excited to see where you go in the 2025 season. And
just progress from there. So.
Yes, sir. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. And if you got any other questions, you can all reach out to us on social media. Y'all have a good night.